Chapter 16. In the port area of town, Javi Jones sat with an incredibly strong cup of coffee and the forensic reports from the killing of Tina Gonzalez. He added hot water, milk, and sugar to the coffee. He wanted to try what Angelica had ordered at the café. Was this how the English had their coffee? No wonder they prefer a cup of tea. He had another file with him. This contained all of the verbal evidence gathered in the hours after discovering Tina's body, and the sum total of all this evidence was tallied up in one word: inconclusive. He hated that word. The forensic evidence didn't have a full cause of death. There was alcohol, and another as-yet-unidentified poison or toxin in her system. The full report would take another day or so. Interim reports always teased like this. Something told Javi he didn't really have that long. It was the first time he really called Dante's guilt into question. So Javi decided that his role at that point in time was to theorize who the killer might be if it wasn't Tina's husband Dante. Without knowing how she died, he couldn't conclusively know who killed her. But he could use his powers as a detective to come up with a short list of people in the event that Dante wasn't the man in the frame. One of the neighbours was a nasty piece of work. Javi had spoken to the guy personally. The man was a misogynist of the highest order. There was no wonder he lived on his own. But this man, called Grando by himself and others, knew the ins and outs of Tina's life as though he was living it himself. Grando's real name was Albo Gratita. He earned his nickname because it was close to the Spanish word for large. Grando was certainly that. By the sound of things, he sat in his front room watching the world go by with great interest. Grando was a shut-in, though. If he was anywhere near Tina's house, then he would have been spotted. He couldn't have got very far at all because of his size, his agoraphobia, and the fact that he was known right across the neighbourhood. He wouldn't have got more than a few steps from his front door without someone stopping him for a chat. The forensic report mentioned several pieces of DNA found in the property. There was the family, Tina, Dante, and Freya, but there were traces from at least 7 other sources. No reports of the family having any relatives close by, any friends visiting, or anyone coming into the home to carry out repairs. So that left 7 pieces of DNA unaccounted for. Far too many to build a case from. The answer needed to come from elsewhere. Another one of the reports from a neighbour suggested that Tina had a falling out with a business partner called Knocker. They had a stall together at the market in the old town. Things went well to begin with, and then not so well. It was more than a simple business going wrong. According to the reports, this was a massive falling out with accusations levelled by both sides. This was the type of thing that could turn ugly, but rarely did. Maybe Knocker was the person he needed to speak to next. He left his coffee and headed out of the door.